welcome back to another episode of Unbiased Truth with yours, Branson. And today I'm here to talk about the Thomas Massie situation with the Epstein Files and how that's been driving a deeper wedge between him and the Republican Party, especially with Trump, because he's not sticking to dogma, and he has received reports recently show that an unredacted version of the Epstein Files, or at least part of them, and that he's really fighting to release it, and that's going against the main dogma and the alignment of the Republicans right now. So let's get into it. I'll start off with an article right here by The Guardian. So Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna said on Tuesday that he and his Republican colleague Thomas Massie had forced the Justice Department to disclose the hidden names of six wealthy men they say are likely incriminated by their inclusion in the so-called Jeffrey Epstein Files. In a post on X at lunchtime, Khanna of California named the six as Salvatore Nura, Zurab Mikhailadze, Leonov, Nicola Caputo, Sultan Ahmed bin Suleiman, and Leslie Wexner. Wexner is the billionaire founder of Victoria's Secret. His extensive ties to Epstein, the late convicted sex offender and disgraced financier, were exposed in a lengthy New York Times investigation in November. Bin Suleiman is a billionaire businessman and real estate developer from Dubai, and brother of Mohammed bin Suleiman, the head of FIA, the body that governs the world's motorsport championships, including the prestigious Formula One series. Email exchanges between bin Suleiman and Epstein have been previously reported. Attached to the post was a video clip of Khanna reading the names in the House, availing himself of a protection from any defamation lawsuit by the speech and debate clause by the U.S. Constitution. Khanna and Massie of Kentucky spent 2 hours at the Justice Department building in Washington, D.C. on Monday viewing unredacted versions of the Epstein Files. The pair were co-sponsors of the Jeff Epstein Transparency Act that forced the Trump administration to publish its vast troves of documents and the connections and the activities of the president's former friend. See, that's what I like. He's been fighting for that. Obviously, Trump doesn't like it, but Trump's in the Epstein Files, regardless of what you think. Whether you're like, oh, he didn't really know him, he wasn't a close friend. They were buddies at one point, and then they had a falling out, probably around 2014, 2013, and now Trump just, talks bad about him, but there definitely is proof that even possibility that he introduced Melania to Trump, and Melania knew him for years beforehand, too. Let's continue. Democrats had joined the pair in claiming that there are still 3 million pages locked away after the Trump administration called the matter closed with the release of the 3 million documents in January. Papers that were released documents, Democrats also argue, contain numerous unexplained redactions. There were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason, Khanna said, claiming that he and Massie had forced the department to unredact their names. Why did it take Thomas Massie and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? If we found 6 men, they were hiding in 2 hours. Imagine how many men they were covering up for in those files. Massie said on Monday night that he was ready to name the 6 in Congress if needed. What I say that bothered me with the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are more likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files. It's crazy that they're fighting to protect billionaires and pedophiles. Even people that are doing satanic rituals, as we've started to find out, besides the pedophilia, where they're even eating children. Like there was a report that they ate children on a yacht, and that even Trump might have given a BJ to Bill Clinton, which is insane to even think about. But in these satanic underground circles, in cults and organizations, they do all this stuff even if you don't want it, so they have a bag hanging over your head that they know that you owe them, and they can expose you later on. And that's what the whole network that Epstein had was. It's only the tip of the iceberg, to be honest. It's only the very tip. But the fact that the government isn't willing to show that and expose it shows that the rock goes so far deep that both parties, the uniparty, both wings are of the same bird, that they're all infected. And like Thomas Massie said, if they release all of it, it could collapse the whole system because it goes around the whole world, from Russia to very strong ties with Israel. As we already know, Epstein most likely was a double agent for Mossad and CIA, and I think it goes a lot deeper than that, which is insane because why are they covering it up? What about all the victims, all the children that are that go missing every year, all the children that were killed, and there's been no transparency, not as much as that there should be. And when Trump was talking about releasing it, and it was one of his main things, talking about the Epstein Files, and then for him to just brush it off, is very insane thinking. Why would any government want to just have a huge scandal in the waiting while they're trying to get all this stuff done to fit their agenda, while they're not releasing very important thing that, yes, the public cares about? We shouldn't get too hypnotized or obsessed over anything, but this is a major thing. And it relates to how Trump even said drain the swamp. Well, this is the swamp. When are we going to drain it? But let's get to another connecting video with this about breaking points, talking about Massie and Epstein.
Let's move on to Thomas Massie, courageously been pushing. Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, yesterday, they were able to view some of the unredacted files. And so what did they do? They immediately came out and started talking about some of those redactions, which, let's all remember this, the express purpose of the legislation which permits redactions says you may only redact for national security and victims' names. Well, what happened? The DOJ has now been caught multiple times redacting the names of the rich, the famous, and the powerful for no purpose and in direct violation of this federal law. So Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, they go to the DOJ. They are able to review some of the unredacted files. They immediately start forcing unredacting in public. Here's what they had to say on the steps, and we're going to get to some of the information they released.
I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to. We want those names published.
Are these men U.S. citizens? What fields do they work in? Is it finance? Is it political?
At least one is a U.S. citizen. At least one is a foreigner. And the other 3 or 4 have names. I'm not sure if they're foreign or U.S.
And which field do they work in? Is it finance, banking, political?
One is pretty high up in a foreign government.
And some are there. One of the others is a pretty prominent individual. But I think that the point is that these 6 are just what we found in 2 hours of a review of the files that aren't redacted. The broader issue is why so many of the files they're getting are redacted in the first place. And until that becomes unredacted, the main things that they're sending to the career attorneys to review, I don't think we're going to have full compliance with the law or get to the question.
To be honest, none of these documents should be redacted. They should all be exposed and allowed to the public to see.
Question that most Americans want to know. Who were the rich and powerful people who went to this island? Did they rape underage girls? Did they know that underage girls were being paraded around?
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just...
6 men implicated, foreign government, someone high up at a foreign government. I would love to see some of that, certainly would. Immediately afterwards, Thomas Massie actually started tweeting.
This is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way.
Tweeting out very specific redactions, which they had been made, which violated, again, the very law that they authored and were passed through Congress, signed by the president, and the DOJ had to start immediately unredacting said files as part of this request. Let's put this next one up here on the screen. Thomas Massie, in response to my posts today, the DOJ has now unredacted an FBI file that labels 2 individuals as co-conspirators. They have unredacted a file that lists several men who may have implicated, and they have tacitly admitted Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayam was the sender of the torture video. Now, very specifically, what I think is very important, perhaps more than anyone, is the explicit naming, in this case, of Leslie Wexner. Now, this will come of no surprise to literally anybody who knows anything about the Epstein case. However, it does immediately downplay the initial claim by the FBI, by Kash Patel, by Dan Bongino, that this was a singular enterprise that only Epstein and Maxwell participated in. Wexner was explicitly listed as a potential co-conspirator here in the DOJ documents. It also just makes common sense. The former CEO of Victoria's Secret, who is the source of Epstein's wealth and
which Trump had multiple connections to Victoria's Secret and underage girls in marathons around the country, where he would go into the back chambers and go, like, talk to them and, you know, like, be the personal judges of these beauty pageants. which Epstein also had connections to.
Initial entree into high society is the person who drew boobs in the birthday book is a potential co-conspirator in this entire scheme. You're shocking me with this information. Very important. The second one is a sultan, the Dubai Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayman, who we have actually
Honestly, no surprise about that. Sultan, we already know what they do all the time.
Talked previously about
Harems.
here on the show. This is the guy who is the chief executive officer of the Dubai ports. Now, Ryan and Murtaza Hussein over at Dropsite have written ad nauseum stories about this Sultan and Epstein's relationship and the way that they were working as a financial conduit in the Middle East. And that was real power, like real money stuff that was going, that seems to have been financing some of the stuff behind the scenes for the intelligence deals and other things that we've talked about previously. But just to show you also that their own relationship here with the alleged torture video in that infamous email, and there's a lot of creepy jokes or comments between the two also, demonstrates that those two are linked, which is such an important part of the story. Like the sex stuff does not exist without the intelligence stuff and the financial, and then same vice versa. The financial and the intelligence doesn't exist without the sexual degeneracy that's present within the email. So very important redactions, unredactions forced there by Thomas Massie and by Ro Khanna.
Yeah, and what that email, just for as a reminder, it said Jeffrey Epstein to, now we know, this Sultan, said, "I loved the torture video."
Wow.
That's what it was. Okay, what torture video? What are we talking about exactly here? These are the sort of things that can be explored now that we know the name.
We also know that the former Prime Minister of Israel, Mubarak, I forgot his name, but there's already pictures with him with Epstein on the island. So Israel definitely had full-on connections and saw it too.
Of this individual. And just to underscore, Thomas Massie was talking about, okay, now we know one potential co-conspirator who was identified by the federal government. Love to know, was there any sort of a, cooperation agreement? Was there any sort of a deal that was struck with Les Wexner? Was that one of the people that Ghislaine Maxwell is referring to in her filing? What was the investigation into him like? What sort of evidence did you have on Les Wexner and these other co-conspirators potential co-conspirators that you were looking into? Let's go ahead and take a listen to Thomas Massie talking about this.
An example of something, maybe it wasn't intentional on their part. I'd like to hear his take on the redaction of the CEO, who's listed as a co-conspirator in the 2019 child sex trafficking case.
So can I ask you, because, and I want to ask if this is the same person, Todd Blanche also said about that tonight that the document you're citing there has victim names in it.
Correct.
Seeming to say that's why there are redactions. He said, "We have just unredacted Les Wexner's name from this document, but his name already appears in the file thousands of other times." And he says the Justice Department is hiding nothing. Is that the retired CEO that you're referencing?
It is. He unredacted it after I found it. That's a problem. And I'm glad they've admitted they made a mistake by redacting that.
So you're saying it was redacted when you went in there today, and after you tweeted that, they unredacted it?
Correct. Now he's got 4 other names he needs to unredact. Did he respond to that? There's a list of 20 people. And there's 4 men in there that need to be unredacted. Here's another troubling thing that I found.
Can you say who those 4 men are tonight?
I don't think they're well known, and so if I did, it wouldn't matter, but I could probably say them on the floor of the House. But I'll give the DOJ a chance to do what they did in these 2 examples, where I've discovered something and now they've responded.
So a number of very significant things that he says there. He casually mentions, well, I could probably say him on the floor of the House because, yes, you are allowed to reveal that sort of information and you get sort of an exclusion as a member of Congress. So, at any time, he's held out the possibility of what he calls the nuclear option. Listen, if you all don't do what you're supposed to do, what you're legally obligated to do, I will come out and I will say the names. I will put on the record who these unindicted co-conspirators are, who was being looked into. And then the DOJ's defense here that, Les Wexner's name was in the file thousands of times. Why do you care so much about this one? It's like, because this is the one that specifically identifies him as a potential co-conspirator. It's one thing to have emails about this person going back and forth and, whatever sort of dialogue was going on. It's another thing to specifically know the government identified this wealthy man and benefactor of Jeffrey Epstein over many, many years as someone who deserved an investigation, as someone who may have been directly implicated in Epstein's crimes. That is a very different thing than just seeing some email traffic back and forth with Les Wexner's name in it.
Yes, that's right. And then finally, there is some horrific new video. This is from Congressman Jamie Raskin, who also was able to review some files, and he's revealing again, even though we talked previously about some of the barely legal and all of that defense, here are some mentioned, he says, of underage girls, and in this case, there's no even argument, actual girls. Let's play A6 and take a listen.
I mean, it's an incredibly serious thing. When you read through these files and you read about 15-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls. I saw a mention of a 9-year-old girl today. I mean, this is just preposterous and scandalous. So, I don't want to get into any particular case right now, but I hope the whole country is focusing on the absolute gravity of the crisis that we're in.
And you think the British are taking it more seriously than we are?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's a huge scandal.
EVE Online is a vast...
Right, so for all of the talk about, it's just 16, 17-year-old, there you go. Now, look, I mean, who knows? But if there's a mention, investigation, and by the way, even with the mention, what exactly do they say? So that's fully kind of what we know now in terms of the new information so far that's been breaking. But I do think that the Massie one is very significant, and the most significant is this story. The DOJ, unless explicitly called out, is covering up for all of these people.
That's right.
If you go and look at the Deputy Attorney General's feed, multiple of the claims that they say are not true. So for example, Thomas Massie, in his original tweet about Leslie Wexner, said this is a well-known retired CEO, DOJ should unredact this. Todd Blanche says, the document you cite has numerous victim names. We just unredacted Leslie Wexner's name. DOJ is hiding nothing. The document from 2019 discussed only 10 potential co-conspirators and contained no victims' names. These are just outright lies. And then here's the difficulty for all of us. So as heroic as Massie and Kana are, these are two guys. They're trying to go in, to this skiff for these unredacted documents and trying to remember from the top of their head what is what should be redacted and not. They can't do that. And even if them and their staff, And
to finish on his point is that the whole point of a government and a good administration is to be transparent with its people, with its populace, and its citizens. If you're not, that's not a good sign at all. Not a good sign. And that shows that there's a lack of trust within the government, within the media, and this is the reason why. If it's totally true that Jeffrey Epstein was just the tip of a satanic, pedophilic, murdering enterprise cult that spanned throughout the whole globe with different countries, organizations, businesses, CEOs, and potentially even contacts with the World Economic Forum, that's staggering. That's really staggering stuff. And as Thomas Massie said, if we reveal this could collapse everything, including the world financial market. So be it. So be it. If it's so rotten at the core, then it should come to an end. Who's controlling everything and who's controlling what and how? And after all, if this is the way how empires end, right here. A lack of faith in the government after the government has multiple promises that are unfulfilled. And this is one of Trump's biggest promises. Pride before the collapse. Pride before the fall. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. You guys have a nice one. Bye.